Almost. Almost there. I forgot my cup. I don't have my cup. You ever playing Diablo 1? You've probably heard of that game. Gonna review very well. Just heads up there. I'm curious how D2 will review, because we're playing Diablo 2 right after 1. And then we're playing 3, which will review very well. I was actually thinking about that recently. I was going to talk to you about sickness and how my body apparently just knows what I'm saying. Like, seriously. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do the short dock to work on the Diablo rewrite. Right? I'm going to finish that up, which is now done, obviously. It's going to go live in about a week and a half. A little less than that, actually. So, we're all good to go. Everything's cool. Everything's cool. Yep. Okay. The day I paused streaming, I was going to do a Q&A stream that day, but the day I paused streaming, hack, cough, ugh, good. It's like my body knows, right? But no, I don't want to talk about that. What I want to talk to you about is how people... I've actually talked about this concept before in different aspects. I've talked about how people love the intros and outros of work. I've talked about how people will focus on things that are unique or stylistic, either musically or in art style or both, in order to say, oh, this is really good, when it is or isn't irrelevant, irrespective of the fact that it's good or bad. It's just people tend to remember it more because it's more memorable, right? Like, how it is. It's been a fascinating thing. Like, a lot of people are like, oh man, Okami's great. And I was like, okay, well, let's review Okami. Okami did not review well. And I'm curious how many in comments right now are going to be like, what the hell is wrong with you? Okami's a great game. No. Like, if you enjoy Okami, that's awesome. And I have absolutely no hesitation in saying that is a great thing, that there should be more of. But what Okami is a unique game with this whole visual style and this whole audio style, and that's cool and awesome, but the game is a bit lacking. But not a lot of people care about that. The same thing with RPGs. You ever notice that? Someone will say, insert RPG here is a great game, and I'm sitting there thinking, no, it isn't. Because what I'm thinking about is the game and the story axis both. They're just thinking about the story and how much they love the story. I've done this too, by the way. I'm not trying to throw stones from outside the glass house, or however that analogy works. It's just a common thing. We tend to remember certain things, and I've been paying attention over the years at things we remember. And one of the things we remember is specific instances of either something doing really well or something doing really badly, and that permanently stains the entire rest of the memory of the work. To wit, how many of you earlier, when I said D3, Diablo 3, is going to score very well, were like, no, it's not. Or, but D3 sucks. Or, but I hated D3, or whatever, right? Bonus question. How many of you are thinking of that because of the status of D3 at launch? Let me be very clear. Diablo 3 is probably going to be I'd say in the running for the most gameplay positives we give any game ever. Like, it might actually be king on that axis. There are only two other games I think might contest it. One of which is also by Blizzard. So, I think D3 is going to score very, very well. But there's that sort of cultural consciousness thing, right? And it's almost frustrating because I feel like I'm pushing against it constantly. In both directions. Because even when I agree with it, I have to make it clear I'm not agreeing with it because it's the common cultural consensus. I'm agreeing with it because I agree with it. I think the durability in Zelda Breath of the Wild sucks. It's the worst part of the entire game. But it's still a great game otherwise, and I do think that it doesn't actually, befoul the game to the point of being a net negative. And I could name other examples. That was just recent in my memory because that was a dialogue that came up recently. So I was asking a friend of mine if he wanted me to buy him Tears of the Kingdom, and he said no, because I don't know if the durability's in it. You get the idea, right? Like, there's just that cultural consciousness things, which is why I would bet money that a lot of people are expecting Diablo 2 to be the one that scores the best. It's not going to be. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Like, I don't know the score. I can't know the score until I sit down and review it. But I've done a lore run of these games semi-recently. That was just a few years ago. So my opinions are not that out of date. Having said that, D1's going to score really badly. We all know this. D1 sucks. It's an early, it's a first game, right? I just realized most of you probably don't watch my streams. A first game is a game, it's not the first game a developer makes. It's a developer's first attempt at a type of game or a style of game. And it's called that because of the fact that it kind of sucks. Because they don't really know what they're doing. Now, a first game is almost always bad. Not necessarily always, but usually bad. But it's not because of bad development or budget issues or executive mandates or any of the other crap that's the usual suspects. It's just because they're trying something new and they're getting used to it. Right? Like that makes sense, right? So Diablo 1, first game, that it's not going to score well. Diablo 3, it's gonna knock it out of the charts. Might usurp Portal 2. We'll see. D2? I have no idea. D2 can be whatever. I actually do not know how well that game is going to score, because I'm sure a lot of you remember it very, very fondly, and I am one of those people too. But right now, off the top of your head, how many of you can think of at least one part of D2 that either makes you debate if you want to keep playing the game, or rather replaying the game, or you get to a certain spot and then you just put the game down because you've gotten to that spot? It's the GTA problem all over again. I've talked about this before. Everyone loves San Andreas, right? I love San Andreas. It even scored relatively well. San Andreas has multiple that spots, right? Go ahead, mention them. What's your favorite that spot in San Andreas? What's your favorite that spot in Diablo 2? Just last night, one of my actresses was replaying Diablo 1 because she was in the mood, probably because of the rewrite stuff, if I were to take credit for that. And she mentioned something. In fact, I believe I could actually find it word for word rather than misrepresenting her. Give me 1 second here. Because we're talking about how it's a first game and how it kind of sucks and yada, yada, yada. Oh, where was it? Yeah, I'm not going to see it. Because what she said in simplicity was, I'm going to enjoy it for like an hour or two. Oh, here. Okay, actually, no, I'm sorry. This is someone else. Sorry. This is a gentleman, one of my actors. Says, it's always fun for the first 30 minutes to an hour. And then all the annoyances start adding up really quickly. How many of you... Oh, there she is. Something about the raw simplicity of D1 could draw me into playing it for an hour or two. That's the other thing. How many of you can think of a game that you remember quite fondly, but it's because you like replaying this one section of it? I'll go ahead and cast shade upon myself on that. Neverwinter Nights Vanilla. Now, I love Neverwinter Nights to death. In fact, I currently have an ongoing co-op campaign with me and 2 of my friends, and we just reached the Shadows of Undrentide, for example. But Neverwinter Nights 1 Vanilla? I love Act 1. I unabashedly enjoy Act 1. I think it's well done. It's enjoyable. There's multiple paths. A lot of all roads lead to Rome quest design. It's great. I love it. Then you get to Act 2. And then I usually put the game down because I'm good. Because I know that the game keeps getting worse kind of forever. Like, it's a non-stop decline in quality the moment you get past Act 1. How many can think of a game like that? I'm sorry, these are supposed to be super short. I'm just rambly this morning. Probably because I've been isolated and hacking and coughing while I'm working on the rewrite. Oh my god. I'm still a little coffee. You're going to have to forgive me for that. I'm going to go ahead and shut up and get the stream started. I hope to see at least some of you there.